There are two main stories in Birds and Bees. There is the A story, which is the murder. And what's different about this murder than most of the Monk murders is this is more of an open mystery. We see in the teaser who does it and how he does it. There's no mystery about that. We know that Rob Sherman is the killer. We know how he set it all up. In many respects, it is more like a classic Columbo, where you see the murder take place before Columbo ever comes on the scene. And in that, so we have that story, and then there's this separate story involving Julie and her boyfriend and issues around her changing. You know, she's now 15, she's in high school, boys are a bigger part of her life. And what was interesting about this episode was to hook up that A story and that B story, that they're connected, though we don't realize that till much later on in the episode. So that was part of the challenge. How do you bring those two together? Well, I think that, you know, both as the viewer and certainly as the writers, having Monk do it, there's more conflict. It really runs against his character and what he's comfortable with, and really wanting to put him in that uncomfortable situation. I think there's also a deeper relationship between Monk and Julie than Julie has with Stottlemyre or Disher. You know, she refers, you know, Monk is someone who could certainly talk to Julie about abstinence, about waiting. And there was this whole payoff in terms of that scene of bringing it around to Trudy and him waiting. And so both, I think, in terms of the real heartfelt pathos of the scene between the two, I think Monk was a much better choice. And also for the comedy beats in it, and to deal with Monk's uncomfortableness. You know, it was the process of writing the scene was one that evolved from the initial drafts of it was more explicit in terms of the topic, and it got in some ways pulled back. You know, trying to strike a balance, figure out what would Monk really be most comfortable with? How do we deal with that? So that was one of the scenes that evolved through the rewrites, through the read-through. The cast gets the draft and they do a read-through. During lunch hour, they'll be filming episode 7, they'll be doing a read-through during the lunch hour of the new script that just came in. And after that read-through, there's questions, well, this seemed to work, this didn't. Tony might say, well, I don't think Monk would play it that way. And when Tony talks, certainly everyone here in the writer's room listens, and revisions get made, and you know, it's a work in progress. Once it was decided that Act 4 would really be at the amusement park, on the pier, that we wanted to really take full advantage of it, not just have the final piece of Act 4 there. In an earlier draft, the summation was taking place in a park, not at the pier. And it made sense to move it there to make it more dynamic, to take more advantage of that set and all the different things going on. And you know, I think this episode is maybe the 80th, 83rd in the series. There's a need to vary. You know, when you think of all the different ways Monk has done the summations, he's been drunk, you know, it just varies every time. There are different ways of making it happen. But I think it was a choice to try to do it a little bit differently. Monk had his piece of business to do following Rob Sherman, our killer, and Natalie was doing the summation both, you know, for the audience, and I think it worked. You know, I think it was a nice change, and it was great to give her that piece to do.